Here's your news rush for July 19, 2026. 16 stories. Let's go. Andrew Tate is in custody in the United States. U.S. Marshals arrested the 39-year-old and his brother Tristan, 38, in Miami on Saturday, outside a bare-knuckle boxing event. Britain's Crown Prosecution Service says it will seek their extradition to the United Kingdom on charges including rape, bodily harm, and human trafficking. Prosecutors say they have identified 4 additional alleged victims and intend to bring further charges. The brothers have previously denied all allegations against them. Forget the final for a second, because the third-place playoff just produced one of the strangest scorelines in World Cup history. England beat France 6-4 in Miami. 10 goals in a single knockout match, between 2 of the best defensive sides in world football. It hands England a bronze medal and some consolation after Argentina knocked them out in the semi-final, and it sends France home from a tournament that never quite clicked. Now, the main event. Day 8. American strikes have hit Revolutionary Guard units near Sirak and Hajabad in Iran's Hormuzgan province, with the stated aim of further degrading Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. In Kuwait, authorities say they are bringing 5 fires under control from Iranian attacks, 2 at the targeted sites, and 3 in residential areas. And diplomatically, Iran's deputy foreign minister has suspended Tehran's commitments to the Islamabad Memorandum, accusing Washington of violating its obligations. Washington's own allies have broken ranks. The European Union and the Gulf Cooperation Council have issued a joint statement rejecting sovereignty claims over the Strait of Hormuz as, in their word, unlawful. They specifically opposed any permit or fee requirement for international shipping through the strait, which is exactly what the 20% American toll amounts to. The statement came out of a high-level regional security forum in Brussels. This is Europe and the Gulf states telling the United States, publicly, that its policy has no legal basis. A number worth pausing on. The death toll from Venezuela's earthquakes has climbed to 5,119. Just over a week ago, that figure stood at 4,118. More than 1,000 additional deaths have been confirmed since, as recovery teams continue pulling bodies from collapsed buildings. Numbers like this rise long after the cameras leave, and this is now among the deadliest natural disasters in the country's history. New court filings describe how health data on millions of Americans ended up in a deportation tool. According to the filings, Medicaid officials improperly shared data about millions of people with Immigration and Customs Enforcement back in January. ICE then shared that data with the analytics company Palantir. Palantir operates an app called Elite, used by ICE agents to display the addresses of non-citizens who may be subject to deportation. People give health information to Medicaid to get medical care. The AI boom has reached the end of your street. Power companies are using eminent domain, the legal power to seize private land, to build the infrastructure that feeds new data centers. And the public is not on board. Roughly 70% of Americans say they don't want a data center near where they live. This is the part of the artificial intelligence story that doesn't show up in a chatbot demo. It runs on buildings the size of towns, drinking power and taking land, and somebody has to live next to it. Here's the gap between the economy on paper and the economy people feel. American companies have finally received $71 billion in tariff refunds, but much of that money is going straight into offsetting inflation caused by the war with Iran. Meanwhile, the stock market is booming and inflation numbers are improving. And yet 61% of the public says they are pessimistic about the economy, both now and going forward. When the charts and the mood disagree this sharply, the mood usually knows something. Another piece of the world's energy map just moved. Iraq and Syria have signed a memorandum to rehabilitate a crude oil pipeline running to the Mediterranean coast, and they signed it in Washington, with U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright in attendance. The logic is the same as the Chevron deal earlier this week. With the Strait of Hormuz closed, every barrel that can reach open water without passing through it becomes enormously valuable. Wars redraw pipelines, and this one is being redrawn fast. The AI race just got another entrant. The Chinese startup Moonshot has introduced a new model that the company says performs on par with the leading systems from OpenAI and Anthropic. It is the latest in a steady run of Chinese labs claiming to close the gap with American frontier models. A caveat worth holding on to: benchmark parity claims are easy to make and usually get stress-tested hard by independent researchers in the weeks after launch. But the direction of travel is consistent, and it is not slowing down. A quiet change with long consequences. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has revoked a decades-old policy governing how endangered species protections are applied, rules that have shaped conservation practice for generations of listed species. Supporters of the change argue the old policy was overly rigid and slowed development. Conservation groups warn it weakens the practical force of the Endangered Species Act, one of the most consequential environmental laws the United States has ever passed. An extraordinary question is being asked in New York. The city's mayor is considering what arrest authority New York holds ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit for the United Nations General Assembly. It follows international legal action against the Prime Minister. In practice, foreign leaders attending the UN travel under layers of diplomatic protection and host country obligations that a city government does not control. But the fact that the question is being raised at all, by the mayor of the host city, is itself the story. A story that almost never makes the front page. In Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, rebels killed 114 people and abducted 17 more during the month of June alone. Eastern Congo has endured decades of armed group violence, fought over territory and over the minerals beneath it, minerals that end up in the phone you are watching this on. It is among the deadliest ongoing conflicts on Earth, and among the least covered. One more brick out of the wall. Libya has joined China's payment system, a move designed to reduce the country's reliance on the US dollar for trade. Central bank governors from both countries met in Beijing to strengthen bilateral commerce. On its own, one country is not a threat to the dollar, it has been the world's reserve currency for 80 years. But this is the pattern to watch. Not a dramatic collapse, just a steady accumulation of countries choosing to settle trade in something else. If the air looks wrong where you are, here is why. Heavy smoke from several large wildfires burning in Canada and in Minnesota is spreading across the United States, engulfing large parts of the Midwest and the East Coast this week. Millions of people are being urged to check local air quality readings before spending extended time outdoors, particularly children, older adults, and anyone with respiratory or heart conditions. Check your local reading before you make plans. This is it. Argentina against Spain, for the World Cup. Argentina arrive as defending champions chasing back-to-back titles. Spain arrive chasing their second star and the argument that this is the finest team they have ever produced. It is the first time these two generations of stars meet with everything on the line. And it comes with wildfire smoke drifting over an open-air stadium, and a FIFA investigation still hanging over Argentina's Falklands banner. Whatever happens next, we'll have it. That's your news rush for today. Subscribe so you never miss a day.